be honest with you guys, I thought ReZero was destined to be just another rehashing of shows we've seen 1,000 times. I mean, tell me if you've heard this story before. A high school student ends up in another world and learns to live in it. Does anything come to mind? Maybe Sword Art Online, or maybe No Game No Life. In my mind, I had dismissed even giving ReZero a shot. I mean, the story of Natsuki Subaru couldn't possibly bring anything new to the table, right? Or could it? No, more importantly, it did. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ocean Planet. My name is WK, and today we're going to be talking about ReZero, starting life in another world. ReZero is a light novel adaptation directed by Masaharu Watanabe and produced by Studio White Fox. Our story starts off with our main character, Natsuki Subaru. Okay, hold up. Ryan, stop the music. You know it, I know it. His name is Subaru, so let's get this out of the way. Here's Natsuki Subaru. Here's a picture of a Subaru. Now here's a picture of Subaru in a Subaru. And here's Natsuki as a Subaru. Now you knew this was going to be a joke. So are we done here? We good? You good? I'm good. We're all good. Jeez. Roll the music. Automobiles aside, our main character Subaru is just living his normal everyday life when suddenly he finds himself in the middle of a brand new world. In this world, he meets a young white-haired elf named Amelia and decides to help her out finding a missing amulet that was taken from her. However, in their search to find her missing amulet, Subaru and Amelia find themselves murdered in pretty gruesome fashion. Now normally, when you're murdered, that's it, it's done, put a fork in it. But Subaru reawakens thanks to a special ability he gains known as Return from Death, where he can reverse time by dying. This Return from Death ability becomes the driving force of not just the story, but some of the crazy twists that occur in the show. You see, Subaru does die consistently. It's not a spoiler, it's the main plot of the show. Subaru is just a fairly normal guy in a world filled with giant beasts, warriors trained for killing, and intricate spells that can be cast by the world's inhabitants. But every time he dies, he learns a little more about how he died, and how to avoid it. It's interesting to see his thought process, as each time he tries different things to not just protect himself, but to protect his friends and his main love interest Amelia. To his benefit, he does hit little checkpoints where his return to death leaves him, but that's the only thing that's really to his benefit. As the show continues, the tone changes from happy-go-lucky to something much more dark, sinister, and gruesome. This is where ReZero stands out from the traditional trapped in another world shows. ReZero consistently challenges the psyche of not just us, the viewer, but of Subaru as well. There are times when Subaru's mind is so beat down and battered that he starts losing his grip on the things that matter to him the most. It's these surprisingly human elements that really solidify Subaru's character. ReZero does a great job of using the mix of lightheartedness and terrifying psychology to push its great narrative, but it's not without its faults. Unfortunately, as it stands right now, the story does contain a lot of plot holes. It does end pretty satisfyingly, but there are a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up. Thankfully, it does seem as if there is a season 2 on its way. And if you do plan to watch ReZero, do be prepared. The feels in this show are just mwah. Now, as a character, I've seen two very different opinions on Subaru. I've seen praise for his characterization and how he handles the situations that he's been placed in, but I've also seen hate for the same exact reasons. But it's because of this why Subaru has such a great character arc. He is a little cocky and does act like a D-bag sometimes, but I never really found it annoying. In fact, I felt that Subaru would act fairly normal for a man in his situation. I could honestly believe his heartfelt emotional moments, especially when it comes to Amelia. Amelia, on the other hand, I did feel was a little bland. The romance between her and Subaru doesn't feel forced and for the most part is pretty good, be it one-sided, but good nonetheless. But that's about it for her. She's not emotionless, but she is kind of an airhead. She's not terrible or stupid for that matter, but Amelia doesn't really get any solid amounts of development for her character. In fact, the blue-haired Rem gets the majority of the female character development. Rem, who is one of my favorite characters, has a lot more dialogue that fleshes her out, and her tragic backstory adds to her character depth. Plus, she's just an all-around badass for the way that she fights. The rest of the cast is pretty solid, and everybody has their place in the show. I don't think any particular person is wasted in the narrative, and the dialogue between them really helps develop the setting. ReZero is also a really well animated show. I mean, really well animated. The color palette of the show can be either bright and warm or dark and terrifying. The world feels large and luscious, and the animation adds vibrant movement. The fight scenes also look very stunning. They feel fluid and make the fights feel off the wall and over the top. The character design is pretty basic since most of them fit into the fantasy setting, but oddly enough it works in ReZero. Now in terms of music and sound, ReZero does a good job of utilizing its soundtrack. During a lot of the ending scenes, they use this song, which is a very powerful song, which usually enhances either the sorrow or the feel-good moments of this show. The openings are both pretty good, about standard for a show of this caliber, but I really do like opening to Paradoxum, which is a techno ballad that has some truly strong emotion behind its vocals. It does a good job of properly getting you ready for what you're about to watch. ReZero is a good show. No, it's a great show. It's a show that I thought was going to fit into a cliche mold, but broke it spectacularly. As it stands now, it doesn't truly feel finished, but if for whatever reason they never came out with a season 2, ReZero is still very satisfying. So this is what we're gonna do. ReZero gets an 8.5 right now, and if ReZero gets a second season, I'll review that season and compare it. But for right now, a solid 8.5. Once again, thank you guys all for watching, and until next time, keep swimming.